Welcome to the Courtship Aftershow, a talk show on the Reader Seeks Romance channel that recaps and discusses former NBC, current USA Network dating reality show The Courtship, inspired by the work of Jane Austen. I am Liz Donatelli. My co-host is my good friend and reality TV show superfan, Tiffany Current.
Hi, I'm back.
Hello, Tiffany. I am glad that you are back. Today, we are discussing episode 3 of The Courtship entitled Test of Sportsmanship. So first off, overall test of sportsmanship, do you think this was an appropriate title for this episode?
I do actually, because there was good sportsmanship, there was a bad sportsmanship, and overall, this was a fantastic episode. There was so much stuff that happened. It was dramatic, it was romantic, there were tears, there were laughs, there were people that were kind of going after each other. I had a lot of fun.
Yes, I did enjoy it thoroughly. So it opens with cricket. That's what we're playing. The UK sport of cricket. I guess it's kind of akin to baseball, American baseball. I couldn't really get a
kind of
handle on the directions.
It was so funny when Mr. Edwards started explaining it. Like after a second, I was like, I don't know what. There's a paddle and a ball. Like I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, it felt like they hit it, and then it looks like they ran bases, but then I think they were running in circles.
they ran back and forth, and I was like, this is how you play cricket? Mr. Mumbrey was like, I know exactly how to play this game. I'm very familiar with it, so yes, good for him.
Mumbrey was the superstar of this game that they were playing. He even won, what was it? He won a trophy for best cricket player.
Best player or something. Yeah, he was the best though. He knew what he was doing. Yes. He was really good.
He really shined. And I thought it was interesting and really touching that he shared that he used to be picked last in sports as a kid. Yeah. He was overweight. So, and now he's a very fit guy. So I thought that was an interesting, tidbit about his personal life. But it did make sense that he said his first love was cake. Like he was in love with cake.
I knew you were going to go there. I wasn't going to say that. But you know what, though? But that's okay, though. But now he has the body that can enjoy cake whenever he likes. So you know what? Good for him.
Very true. Very true.
I thought it's funny because, like, speaking of food, my other favorite comment about the competition was from Mr. Cones. Mr. Cones and his quips. He always has the zingers.
I want to see if this is what I wrote down, too.
This is the zingers. Mr. Cohen said he loves competitions, bingo, buffets, beer pong. And I was like, yes.
That's just so very Cones. It's very Cones.
It's so very Cones. I love Mr. Cones. He's hilarious. He's an all-American guy. I love him. He's my favorite. He's fantastic.
He's your favorite? That's a bold
he's one of my, Mr. Chapman's my favorite, let's be honest. But Mr. Cones, though, he's very lovable.
He's truly enjoying the process.
I think he is. I think he was like a little like, this is kind of weird, but he's just like, I'm going to be me. Whatever time period this is, I'm going to just be me. I'm going to bring my, Midwest mentality, wherever he's from, I don't know, to the game. And
he lives in Los Angeles. So
but maybe he's originally from the Midwest. Everything he's saying reminds me of a Midwesterner. And I don't know if that's true. If you can let me know, I'd appreciate it. But he sounds like he's from the Midwest. I don't know.
At the beginning, when they're reading the Daily Tea and the men learn that they have to, Mr. Mumbrey actually reads the Daily Tea to the men, the suitors, and they find out they're going to play cricket. And I thought this was interesting. I'd love to know who writes for the show because they wrote Game of Cricket and Love are much alike. Both pursuits should always be, played in the spirit of friendship, nobility, and fairness.
Oh, yeah. You know what? These little daily teas are pretty amazing, actually. I do remember. I'm like, that's very, that took a lot of thought. Good for them. I'm like, okay. I've never played cricket. I guess everyone's going to find out if that's true. I don't know if it's that friendly, though. The game didn't seem that friendly to me.
It didn't. I was impressed to learn that women were allowed to play cricket back in the Regency era. I'm assuming that's correct. Mr. Edwards said it, so
I don't know. I saw it on Bridgerton, so I'm like, I assume it's correct too. They were playing in they were playing it this season. I'm like, oh, I guess the girls can play.
They made team captains. So Miss Rémy was the team captain for one cricket team. The other team was led by Miss Banksy.
Mrs. Baker. I
Mrs.
love
Baker.
her. Mrs. Baker. She
She's
had
awesome.
so many quips this episode. I loved her so much. She was so entertaining. She picked, I believe, Mr. Saffa first. I want to say, didn't she? Am I crazy?
No, she did, because she said she didn't know the sport, but she assumed she would need strength, and she picked Saffa.
Mr. Saffa, and I was like, yeah, that paid off.
Mr. Saffa, he was not doing well.
He was not. This was not his episode. But going back to the pick, what was very interesting, I was watching it, is that she was not picking Mr. Bokikio, like the guy that she kissed the very first time, Miss Rémy, remember? And I kept thinking, when are you going to pick him? And I think her reasoning was that she was just kind of toying with him or whatever. But I'm like, but what I loved, she picked him, and then he kissed her on the mouth in front of people. I was like, he just kissed her in front of everyone. That was pretty ballsy.
That was bold. He was
very
making
bold.
his claim. He was reasserting the claim that he believes he secured in episode 1. He's like, listen, episode 1, as far as he's concerned, this show hasn't progressed since episode 1. He's like, I should still be number 1. And
you're so funny.
So I thought that was bold.
So funny.
And I'm going to go a step before that the last 2 picked were the 2 Italians on the show. And they even comment about, look, the 2 Italian guys.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So it was Bokikio and Giuseppe Castronovo.
Mr. Giuseppe, I don't know that. But you know what? The thing about Giuseppe this episode is that earlier on, I think even before cricket, he was already like digging into Captain Kim. You remember? Because he's just like, oh, whatever Captain Kim did, do the opposite. I'm like, why are you going after...
Yeah,
the claws came out for some reason. I'm not really sure about that. So I was like, I'm glad you got picked last because you deserve it, sir. That is unsportsmanlike. However you say it. Yes.
Sportsmanlike.
All right.
Sportsmanship like.
I got to stop drinking whatever this is in my teacup. It's just water.
No, it's not. So yeah, Giuseppe, someone lit a fire under that guy. Because he came in guns a-blazing from the first second of this episode. He's like, oh my God. Captain, he's like, for some reason, he zeroed in on Captain Kim as his adversary.
You know what? Because I think he was trying to point out that if he could get somebody out, he has a better chance of, I guess, winning with Miss Remy's love. I don't know, but he was kind of like claws out. I didn't really appreciate it.
Yeah,
didn't appreciate it.
Yeah, he was really coming on strong. Okay, so this was a bigger Giuseppe Castronovo episode, and when he was picked, I believe Mr. Edwards referred to Mr. Castronovo.
Oh no,
in a very poetic way, as the luxuriously coiffured pizzeria owner.
Pizza!
So this is the first time I learned, and I guess America learned that he's a pizzeria owner. It sounded like he just made that up. It's like, it's a little stereotypical that the Italian guy named Giuseppe would be the pizzeria owner. And I was wondering, is that
I think it's probably true, but the way that Mr. Edwards described it is just very odd. The luxurious. At first, I thought he was talking about his hair because Giuseppe's hair is amazing.
I think that's what he meant. His luxurious, like, lock.
Is that what it? But he didn't say hair. He was just, I guess maybe,
coiffured,
but it was just,
because it's like style.
But when you put luxurious and pizza together, it just didn't work for me. I'm like, it's a luxurious pizza place? I was confused, but I think that's the first time we heard about his profession.
And again, I would love to meet the people who write for the show, because they must have such a good time. They must be laughing, because we need to find one of the writers. Well, now I'm all excited because we mentioned Mr. Castronovo's luxurious coiffured hair during this cricket game, which seemed to last a long time. You
know what though? The guys really enjoyed it. What I really liked is that I felt like by them playing the sport, even though they had no idea how to play it, let's be honest, what I really liked about cricket is that all the guys seemed to really kind of relax. And maybe it's because they're just playing a game, but Captain Kim, he was like smiling Captain and relaxing. Kim. And I think that was the first time that I felt like I saw a good picture of him in regards to, he's a lot of fun. He was very just so chill and enjoying himself, and kind of, because for the rest of the other episodes, he's been very kind of intense and like, I guess, I don't know, set on winning or whatever it is. But this time he was just so calm. And I'm like, that's the personality I like. That was actually really nice to see.
Yeah, I agree. This was a turning point in Captain Kim's journey. And even Miss Remy, she was very flirty with him. And she's like, yeah, you seem to be like, I don't know how she described, but like connecting with me, and you're a little less, more approachable type, you know? And yeah. And then he again found a way to shoehorn the whole fact that his heart was broken by a woman and he has trust issues. I'm like, well, I feel like he's mentioned that several times already.
You know, it's funny. I had forgotten about it. I don't know if he said it to her or not. I can't remember. But in that moment, that seemed to make sense. He was explaining, this is why I've been so closed off. But now I'm, you know, maybe because there's been more time and he's getting to potentially know her better, or the process, he's more relaxed. But I think she said to him, like, you're the most attractive person I've ever seen. She was like, she was in, man. She was in. She's like, you're the most attractive person I've ever seen. But I thought that was really sweet, their date, because it felt like they were connecting, and he was just so open and nice and friendly. And I got the connection. That was actually a really nice connection to see.
So when they were having their exchange, was this in the middle of the cricket game? Because I was thinking, shouldn't they be paying attention? Like, they were out in like left field or whatever they call it in cricket, and they're just like chatting.
They set up a picnic and got some glasses. I think it was out in left field. Yeah. Well, the other guys, there were other people that were more in the game, like Mr. Chapman. Mr. Chapman's like, you know what? I'm trying to run this game. I think at one point Miss Rémy came over to talk to him.
And he was just like, yeah, later.
He was just like, there's a ball here that I need to hit with a baseball bat. So just give me a second. Yeah. He had taken off his boots. I think he'd unbuttoned some buttons on his shirt. He was running back and forth like it was a real game. That was hilarious.
I have a feeling that's probably authentic to the time. Like, it made sense. I was like, I bet the gentlemen back then, they probably did that. Took off their like, that's.
You think?
I would think that's how. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like right. I don't know.
It seems right, but it feels improper. Are they allowed to take off? I know this sounds silly, but are they allowed to take off their shoes in front of women back in the day?
The Regency era was more permissible than people believe, as far as, I mean, yes, there were rules of society, but they also was like a very, it was a hedonistic time. So I feel like if in the heat of the day, if they're like, let's take off our boots and run around and throw open our shirts, I think I'm pretty sure they did it. Although,
because I saw that, I was like, that's why I was like, yes, I think if it was just the men, that would have been allowed. But I'm like, there's women around. That was, but that was funny. He was so into that game. But yeah, I think while all the other people were playing, a couple people kind of took their moment, like Mr. King, who I love this episode. He was so sweet. He came over. I think he like took her by the arm and kind of led her away and had a very quick conversation with her, as a way just to make her know that you're being seen. I'm paying attention to you. I really liked Mr. King this episode. He was great.
Yeah. And so I kind of want to skip to the end and
don't skip to the end. Let's wait.
I won't, because I thought Mr. King to me is one of the most consistent suitors as far as personality. His temperament seems very even tempered. He doesn't seem rattled or prone to outbursts. So I think he's the most solid of the bachelors.
I think he's one of the best picks. He's just very, as we're saying, very even keel, very sweet, very kind, and always looking to kind of give her attention and giving her eye contact. I really like Mr. King.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like he has an ulterior motive. Speaking of ulterior motives, I think it's
get into Mr. Saffa. We got to talk about him. I've been like on him since the beginning. Mr. Saffa, go ahead.
So Mr. Saffa, he wanders off of the cricket field and he sits next to Miss Cleary, which is Miss Remy's friend, who's part of her entourage, her court. And he starts making time with her. He's like, oh, it's been a long time since I've sat next to a pretty woman. And, of course, they show her like, oh, what?
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, I know.
And then that's when and of course, she's baiting him because she wants to find out, what are you all about? Because obviously you've been with Miss Remy. You're saying she's not pretty. Like, what are you saying? And she's like, oh, well, would you say that Miss Remy, could you see yourself with her or something? And then he mentioned that he typically goes for blondes and she's a blonde, Miss Cleary. So
what I liked about his comment is like, and not only do I go for blondes, but dirty blondes. He was like specifically calling out every single aspect. I'm like, why don't you just name out the type of clothing she's wearing and her eye color and like, Mr. Saffa was funny because I think at some point while he was talking to her, he kept using like this like surfer slang, like, I just like screwing it and doing it. Like he said something like, remember that? I was like,
is that what he said? I missed what he said. I only heard doing it. So I was like, oh, I don't know what he said. I'll just move on.
Screwing it and doing it. I'm like, what are you talking? Like, what are you talking about?
Well, I mean,
Mr. Saffa.
Screwing it and doing it like sex? So we talking about
No.
Oh.
No, we weren't. I don't know. I think he was just saying maybe in life, like he just kind of likes enjoying doing things in life, but he was just like really like, tracking me up.
It. Like, oh, screw it. I'll just
screw the silly things. I'll just do it. But what I love is that Miss Cleary was just not having it. And then Mrs. Baker, who I love, was just like eyeing the whole situation from afar. And I think she eventually walked over. Didn't she walk over to kind of like say, what's going on? Tell me. She was cracking me up.
Yeah. For a second, I wasn't sure if she was going to get mad at Miss Cleary. Like at first I wasn't sure. Is she like, because she didn't know what was happening across the way. So I was like, oh, I hope she's not going to tear into Miss Cleary, but she didn't. She, she sent him away. Didn't she like say, I have to talk to Miss Cleary, and
she sent him away. And then I think Miss Cleary told her everything that happened. And there's no reason to get upset with Miss Cleary. I mean, she's just sitting there and Mr. Saff is just screwing it and doing it, saying whatever he wants. Right. But yeah, that was so weird. And I'm like, but we saw that, remember, from the very beginning, in the very first episode. I think Mr. Safa kind of gave Miss Cleary a look like that's clearly his type. Remember, we're like, he's giving her eyes there. And that is why he's giving her eyes, because he liked her from the very beginning. Yes. You called it. You picked up on that right away. You saw this coming. I don't know if someone asked him, like, what were you doing with her? And he said, he goes, I feel like we're both into each other. And all the guys are like, I loved all like the shots. I love like how it went to like 5 different faces of like, no, she's not. Like, you're crazy. It went to every single person's reaction. It was just cracking me up. But he's just like, I think we have a chance here. And and I don't think so. And I thought it was interesting that Giuseppe was like, hey, well, I guess if, he was kind of encouraging it, and then they cut to him. He's like, well, hey, if we could get rid of another, suitor, good for me. So he's like, Giuseppe's just going for it. What I liked is that at some point he was scheming the whole episode. And I think it was Captain Kim that called him a broke Gaston. Do you remember? I wrote that down. It was like well-deserved. It was a well-deserved comment, because this episode, he was a broke Gaston going after these guys. Come on. I'll be honest, when Captain Kim said that, my like for him went up. I'm not going to say love. I don't love anybody yet. Okay. But I would say that I was like, well, I'm hoping he came up with that line and it wasn't just fed to him by like a producer or something, because I thought that was so on the spot and so funny. I was like, beautiful. You know what? I could hang out with Captain Kim. You're like, you're my number one now. That was hilarious. When he said that, I'm like, that is so smart and so dead on, you know, with the hair and the outfit. Perfect. I love it. Should we go into the date? I have to admit, I was a little surprised, because I thought for the one-on-one date, I thought she was going to pick Captain Kim because they were connecting, but she picked Mr. Holland for that one-on-one date. Yes. Mr. Holland won the honor of a horseback riding excursion with Miss Rémy. And I have to say, so far, this is my favorite, I think, of the dates. Like, this to me is the most Regency era thing you can do. It was. Yeah. That horseback riding date was hilarious. Well, first, the outfits. Whoever's doing the costuming for this show is fantastic. Yes. But they had those beautiful red jackets on. The jackets were hilarious. But the little the horse helmet thing that they put on was like huge. Wasn't that a modern day riding helmet? It was huge. Yeah. But I get it why it was so big, because neither one of them seemed to know how to ride, especially Miss Rémy. Like, she kept having trouble like staying on the horse, and I was like, I don't know if they're gonna make it to their destination. She was struggling. She was struggling with that horse ride. That was a struggle. I was like, ugh. And I thought they were doing so beautifully. I'm like, this is great. They must have gotten lessons. That was a beautiful, picturesque date, though. I love the location. It was really nice. It was gorgeous. And I feel as if they're playing with the color on the video, because every color in each episode, from the dresses to the grass to the sky, is so brilliant. I know, it's beautiful. I'm wondering, did they play around with, I don't know what they did, whatever magic they made, but it's beautiful. Yes, so it was aesthetically just a beautiful date. And this is when Mr. Holland reveals
He's like, I'm a teacher. I love kids and I have something to tell you. Now, I already figured. Did you guess what he was going to say?
I at first I thought it was what he was going to say, but he kept building it up.
Yeah.
And then they kept like playing this music. And I'm like, I'm assuming he's going to say maybe he has a kid, but I'm like,
Yeah.
the way they were going, I'm like, is he missing a leg? It was just so dramatic. I'm like, it can't just be about a kid because this is too much of a buildup. Yeah. But he has a 1-year-old daughter named, I think it was Zaya. Is that what it was? And what I loved is that he had a pocket watch of her picture. It was so cute.
It was fitting for the time.
It was
and
beautiful.
It was really, really sweet. Miss Rémy didn't miss a beat. There was like no hesitation. Yeah. She's like, oh, I want to be a mom. And the only thing is that she mentioned, oh, I could definitely see myself being part of, I don't know if she said your family or being part of this, part of your life. And I'm like, gee, maybe you shouldn't say that until you know for sure that you're, headed in his direction. I just feel like that might give him hope that maybe, he'll just be devastated in the end. But she seemed genuine in the moment about.
I think she was genuine. And I think she wanted to make it understood that it didn't matter that he had a kid because she wants children too. And she wanted to, if they eventually make it to that level, then she'd be happy to be part of the family. Yeah. And I thought he was really sweet. And he was. And once again, they shared a kiss. And this kiss was very intense. We have to start ranking our kisses. But this was like a very intense, like, I don't know, like going for it, like kiss. And then eventually he picked her up and he kissed her again.
Yes.
I had to give him extra points for like lifting a body and kissing a mouth at the same time. I'm like, this guy has some serious skills. That's talent.
Yes, I agree. His style, the kiss, the style, the flourish, which was him picking her up.
Oh, the flourish.
All top aces. I'm going to say, I think we should rank kisses. And as of right now, Miss Remy's kiss with Mr. Holland, I think is at the top of my list. Their kiss is at the top of my list. There was a hunger to it. There was a hunger. And you know what I think? You know what I think it is? I think one, it was partially, he was so grateful that she was immediately welcoming his child. And I think she, as a woman who wants to have kids, it inspired in her that hunger to have family. I think they had a very hungry kiss.
It was very intense. Hungry kiss. It's hilarious. I think that's probably the number one kiss for me as well, because it was a very intense kiss. And I'd say probably Mr. Hunter's probably number 2.
Yes.
And Boquicchio's probably number 3. I like the fireworks with Mr. Boquicchio, but I don't know. I think intensity wise, Mr. Holland, then Mr. Hunter, and then Mr. Boquicchio.
Definitely. Now Boquicchio, as you mentioned, did sneak in. I think was it 2 or 3 kisses once he was eventually picked for Mr.
I don't know, but he even said like, I'm going to keep getting in kisses as long as she's okay with it, which I appreciated that. He's like, as long as I have her consent. I will keep kissing her. But I think he snuck in a couple kisses. Like, he's just like, I appreciate that because he's showing, here are my intentions. I really like you. I'm going after you. I'm showing you what that I'm into you. So he was showing her specifically, I'm still here for you. So I did appreciate that fact.
I appreciate the effort, but I feel like his timing was off because it appeared showy. It appeared like it was more about machismo, him kissing her in front of everyone, than I think about true connection and true passion. Now, she seemed okay with it. He mentioned about, well, I'll keep kissing as long as there's permission. I don't know. I didn't hear her whispering, is it okay? But I guess, I don't know, maybe he did. Because
I think if she pulled away, he'd be like, all right, I should stop kissing her. But that was but good for him though, man. But I do appreciate, I think that was probably also, as you're saying, he was staking his claim, showing the guys like, hey, I'm here, her and I are a thing, be aware.
I would like to chat briefly about the one thing I noticed about this episode that I didn't notice in the others. There were extras. It cracked me. I don't even know why I find it so funny, but there are extras in the background. There were random people. First of all, I would love to be an extra. I would have loved to be an extra on the show. There are people randomly in the back seated outside getting tea. And I'm like, why do we need this? Why do we need extras? I don't understand.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Well, first of all, there were extras before.
There were? What were
Stop it. In the very first episode, when they did the very first, I think, dance, there were extras dancing. I think whenever they first walked in the ballroom.
Okay.
But here it was more noticeable because they were outside, just kind of hanging out on the.
There's all this drama playing out, and then there's just people just pretending, and they're pretending, right? Like, so we all know they're actors, they're all extras, and it's like they're acting.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Mr. Shanklin, who is the singer. Yeah, he's part. He's half
British.
Yeah.
He's half British. He said that, and I was like, "You're half British? That's so interesting."
Yeah.
I was surprised that was the very first time he brought that up that we heard about it, because I'm like, if you're half British, I feel like you should be doing more British stuff. I don't know, on this time period.
Well, he said he felt he should have the, like
he should win at cricket, I think. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yes. And he said his parents were together for 41 years. And that
that's sweet.
Yeah, that communicated to me that Mr. Shanklin has observed a healthy relationship in his life. So that could bode well for his own relationship skills. So I really think Miss Rémy should pay attention to that.
I'm still not sure about Mr. Shanklin because I don't really know his personality. And it's probably because of how they edited him, because they're showing a lot of him like singing and being the silly guy. But I don't really know his personality enough. So I would like to kind of see more of why he's there, who he is as a person, what does he do? But I haven't really gotten that from him yet. So I want to know more about him.
We need more Mr. Shanklin. During the cricket game, okay, Mr. Rémy, so Miss Remy's father.
Yeah.
A very stately gentleman. I want to know what he does in the real world, because
I want to know what he does. I want to know what the mom does, because
she's a doctor.
Do feel like, she's a doctor. They feel like they're part of this high society. Like legit.
Yes.
If this was like, this could be like an actual historical thing that we're watching, because they actually do feel like they're part of that society. It's fascinating.
They're fantastic. Well, Mr. Castronovo, aka Giuseppe.
Oh yeah.
Pizza. While Giuseppe. He's playing, I don't know, he looked like he was falling all over the field, to be honest. And Mr. Remy's like, oh, he's my favorite. And I'm like, wait, what? And he said that he thought that Mr. Castronovo's energy would match that of his family. And I don't see that. I don't see that, because Mr. Castronovo,
he's crazy.
He's a lovable guy. I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like his energy sometimes is a little frenetic, and I don't know.
I think it's probably because maybe they're more light. They like to keep it light, so maybe they appreciate that he likes to keep things light as well, because he's
okay. But
he's all over the place, but
he also stirs shit up, though. He loves to stir the pot.
This is the very first episode that he did that, which I did not appreciate. But in general, overall, he seems like a nice person, but a little too silly for me.
He seems like the guy in the group that's the good time guy. He's the guy that's always upbeat and making people laugh, and maybe taking crazy risks at for a laugh. I guess I'm fascinated by him in ways that I can't really explain,
I guess.
Now during this, we have there was quite a lot of reveals. One of them was Mr. Chapman apparently is a model. I know in the last episode we thought.
When was that revealed? I didn't. When did that actually happen? When did he say that he was a model?
Here's the thing: he didn't say it. It was on the his lower third where it says Mr. Chapman. It says model.
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't know. I mean, a model could be many things. He could be a hand model, a foot model. Anyway, but
he's not a foot model.
But he does confirm that he lives in his van.
Yes. Once again, he mentioned the van.
The van.
And it's just it's this running theme with him. You know what? I have to see his van. At this point, he's talked about his van so many times. Yeah. I want Mr. Chapman to show us his van. Like, is it all decked out? Is it like a regular van? Is it one of those, smart homes that's in a van?
Oh,
I want to know about his van life. I'm very curious about it.
Yeah. Hashtag van life. We need to know all about it.
Hashtag van life. Yes.
I would like to comment on Mr. Castronovo again. He referred to his wolf pendant.
I don't even remember this.
Yes,
no,
because this is a callback to your mention in the first episode of
fascinating.
These brooches. Do they have meaning? And he mentioned, in speaking about his strategies and scheming, he referred to himself as a wolf. And
Oh,
that's
that's
why he
interesting.
picked the wolf brooch. So I think they did each pick something
Oh, that's
befitting their
cool.
personalities.
That's really cool. I think that's so interesting that he picked a
Yeah.
wolf then. I would not expect him to pick a wolf at all. That's actually of note. I would not expect him to choose a wolf for himself, though.
Yeah, although wolf,
Hmm.
a coat of fur, luxuriously
It's
coiffed hair.
all about that hair. It's all about the hair for him. He should be a
I
lion then. It should be like a lion. It's more of a lion
actually
mane
that
than
would
like
make
a
more
wolf.
sense. Oh, we didn't even mention how he just interrupted her. Who
Mr.
was?
Kim. Captain
That's
Kim.
right.
Using Mr. Captain Kim.
That's right, because he's launching this assault on Captain Kim. And he just goes right over there, and Captain Kim graciously bowed out because he wanted to be a
He
gentleman.
did. It was a very nice bout for him. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with Giuseppe this episode.
Yeah.
That's
What did Giuseppe
it's weird.
even say? Like, he didn't reveal anything about himself, did he? It was just like reasserting his interest in her. Like, it
I
wasn't
don't
really...
remember anything that the Giuseppe said, to be honest. I have no idea. I think he sat down, he talked. I think his main goal was just to get Mr. Captain Kim away from her.
Yeah.
So it probably didn't really matter what he said, but he just sat and he chatted, and that was that.
Okay.
Should we move on to the final act?
Let's move on to the farewell ball. There were 5 dances on her dance card, and these are the people that are, she's on the fence about. Captain Kim was not on the list.
And I love how Mr. Edwards made a joke about that. I love Mr. Edwards. He's so funny.
Mr. Edwards seems like he has he looks like he knows how to party. I feel like he actually deserved, but I think he really gets crazy.
Under the surface. He had some good quips because he said, was anyone a bad sport? And what I love is that when they said that they cut right to Mrs. Baker and she drank her little champagne, I know someone who was a bad sport. Love Mrs. Baker. Yeah. She's hilarious. She's hilarious.
She keeps things interesting because
she does.
Fiercely protective of Miss Rémy, her sister. And I like that she's suspicious, she wants to know your motives. And that's what a good sister would do.
So who are the 5? I don't remember the 5. Who were they?
I have it written down. So Mr. Chapman.
I know, very sad.
Mr. Shanklin, Mr. King, Mr. Saffa, because we should mention that her sister told Miss Rémy, hey, listen, Saffa came on to Miss Cleary. He's not really as into you as he should be.
Yep.
So and Mr. Castronovo.
Yep. Giuseppe.
And she had to get rid of 2 people, I thought, right?
2 people. The very first person that she did, who she started to dance with, was Mr. Saffa. And I thought, are you really going to dance with him?
That's right.
But then she stopped it. She stopped the dance and said, I can't even. And I'm like, good. You shouldn't even. And she more or less, but very politely, told him that, to get out and that she's looking for love. And what I appreciated that she said is that there are other people who are actually here for me, and I had to send some of them away last week.
Yes.
And I appreciated her reminding people about that. And I think Mr. Saffa, he did say I hope you find love, or I hope you wish you the best, or something or other. But when he was on his way out,
yes.
He was like, before I go, Miss Cleary, can I have a moment? Can I talk to you? Can I get your number? And that was so ballsy. I was like, come on, Mr. Saffa.
He's got big
Mr.
ones.
Saffa.
And the reaction, even I think the guys in the balcony were like, oh God.
I love those shock, the shocked expressions.
What did Mrs. Baker, was it Mrs. Baker? Didn't she say keep walking? No, I think it was Miss Rémy, keep walking, or
Miss Rémy was first you don't need to talk to her.
Yeah,
and then
Mrs.
Baker was like, let me escort you out, sir.
Yeah.
She was I loved with her proper dismissal. Let me escort you out.
Yes.
There's the door. But that was I was like, Mr. Saffa.
Yeah. Well,
but we knew from the beginning. Of course.
Well, I have a question for you. And this was a burning question that I wrote in my notes. Once Mr. Saffa is, farewell, your carriage awaits, you're out of this. They do kind of a one-on-one with him, and he's crying heavily. What was that about? Was it he felt bad because he got kicked off the show and he wanted to, liked the fame? Or, why was he crying so hard? That I didn't expect.
So, to be perfectly honest, as a person who watches these things, I do think that was totally fake. I think, because there's no reason for him to be crying. This show isn't that serious. He wasn't there for love. He was there for Tessa, right? Obviously, Miss Cleary. So I personally think that part was fake. Like, I think those were fake tears. Like in the past, we've seen other like real tears, but those were fake tears for me. I didn't believe it for 1 second.
Well, I believed it, but I believed it was real, but I didn't believe it was because Miss Rémy kicked him out.
Yes.
I don't think it's because of that. There was maybe he really did like Tessa, and those were tears because of that lost opportunity. I think
I don't know.
Just I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe they were fake. I don't know. I don't know how
I think they were fake, but and then who did she dance with next? Oh, you know what? I think Mr. Shanklin.
Yes,
Mr. Shanklin was a person as well, right? I think she danced with him.
Yeah, but she saved him. I mean, she saved him. She kept Mr. Chapman. And Mr. Chapman, he was smooth because as soon as they started dancing, I believe he's the one who talked first and was like, we have like an undeniable chemistry.
Yes.
Like, he's reminding her, hey, remember, you think I'm hot, you know?
He's like, look at my eyes. Remember my eyes. Remember these beautiful eyes.
He's smooth.
That was actually very smart. He's very smooth, but he's very attractive. And they did have some sort of connection. And what I liked about that is because she kept him, obviously. Mm-hmm. And she said, when I'm in the room, come find me in the room. And he's like, I'll come find you in the room. And then once again, they cut to Mrs. Baker and she's just like, come find me in the room. Like she like made fun of her sister. That was like super funny to me. That was hilarious. I was like,
the biggest shock is that Mr. King was asked to depart. He was crying. She was crying. And all I can ask is, why do you think, I have a theory, but why do you think she sent Mr. King away?
That was shocking because, as you said before, I think he's one of the most really nice guys on the show. And he actually seemed to be there for her. So it was very surprising. I think it's just one of those things where maybe she didn't feel the chemistry. But something that she noted earlier was that because he unfortunately so recently lost his mother and I think his brother, that potentially what she was seeing of him may not be the true him because maybe he's still mourning. I think she said something along those lines.
Okay.
So she wasn't quite sure, but I think it was probably a chemistry thing there. But
okay.
I was super shocked. What did you think?
I didn't think it was chemistry. I think it was one of those, I'm letting you go for your own good because right now you are not in the mental state to handle a new relationship and all the stress and whatnot that involves, because you're still so kind of partially what you said, like you're still grieving. You need to really focus on that before you're not ready to be in a relationship right now. That's how I saw it. But then yet, if it was a chemistry issue, I didn't think that. It could be.
That could be. I think you're probably right. Now that you're saying that's probably right. It's probably more so because it seemed like she got to really know him as a person and that she thought he was very genuine. And so maybe she was telling him goodbye because she didn't want him to get hurt as well. Because he's just, can I just say, when she first said it's like, it's time to dance, and then he stepped forward and then he took a moment, and that's when all the tears happened. Like I started to tear up. I was like, Mr. King, and not Mr. King of everyone to send away. He had so much potential. And then when they started dancing and then she grabbed him and he grabbed her and they were crying and then the mom was crying and then like the dad had tears and I'm like, this is just too much. And like this guy was so, to me, like he's a keeper. Like everything he said to her on his way out was just so beautiful. Like he said, meeting you gave me the ability to believe there's somebody out there as good as you. Like such like sweet
my God,
things to say to a woman. Remember and then he said something like, you're different. I wish there were more women out there like you. And just like everything he was saying to me was just like straight out of like a romantic comedy, like in a good way, like a very sweet, like beautiful thing that you'd hear at the very end of some rom-com that somebody would say to the leading lady, you know, to kind of win her heart. And so it was really sad to hear him go out.
Yeah.
Because he was just such a sweet, nice guy, just saying these beautiful, wonderful things. And I think everyone was moved by it. You know, even the guys up in the balcony, you know, like Mr. Chapman had tears in his eyes.
I noticed that. I noticed that like everyone was so, you know, and I also figured that they all get to know each other and spend so much time. They also like are going to miss them. And it's a very emotional, this farewell ball is so emotional.
It was very emotional.
It's emotionally charged. Very disappointed to see him go, but I'm confident that now, that so many women have seen him on the show that his chances of being pursued instead of him pursuing someone. I think he's now going to be pursued by some women out there in the real world. And I'm hoping that it's a love match because, yeah, he
deserves it.
Yeah,
he deserves it. And when I was watching him and hearing him speak as he was going to leave, I thought if they ever have another one of these with the man point of view, he should be the leading man because he was just so genuine and nice. And he just does, as you said, he deserves to find love. He deserves to find love.
I know, he's just so adorable. You just want to like kiss him. Oh, he's so.
And I think actually her mom, because he was so sweet, and he went and he said goodbye to the parents too, right? And I think even the mom said something like that, like you're gonna find someone who deserves you, and it's just like you will, because he seems like such a good person.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
That was a tough goodbye. That was a tough goodbye.
That was a tough goodbye, and to me, so far, like the biggest shock. Well, maybe not the biggest shock, because there was. Oh, that's a good segue. Because. Then we have 9 suitors, and Mr. Edwards is like, "There's 9 suitors left now." Or what do you say? Or
is there?
Or is there?
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So 2 new suitors walk into the door. Bam! Like that's how it ends. Cut
to black.
Cut to black.
Yeah, that was actually shocking because whenever they were showing those promos of like this big shock, I just assumed somebody was coming back.
Yes.
Not that they were introducing 2 new guys to the show. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird.
Yes.
But,
and these 2 guys, to me, they look like actors. I mean, they're very attractive, but they also comported themselves like I think they were just hired actors to mix things up.
I mean, we'll find out. We'll find out in the next week's episode. I did find that kind of weird. I don't know if they're actors or not. Or if they're genuine people, but it's just what sometimes they do this in these type of shows to shake things up, to bring in somebody different or bring in an old person or something or other. So it's just their way of kind of shaking up the season. But for me, it's just like there's 9 guys left and there's some of them I don't know that well. So I don't want to introduce new people. I want to get to know these people.
That's
better.
My feeling too. I want to learn more about Mr. Shanklin, more about Mr. Holland. Actually, even Giuseppe Castronovo, like I feel like I don't really know much about him. Mr. Bochicchio too. Like honestly, things have cooled down considerably as he's even noted it. I just fear that the introduction of 2 additions has made the show maybe jump the shark. I don't know. I don't know. Here on out, is it going to just be Crazy Town USA?
Well, I think we'll find out next episode, but hopefully not. It looks like next episode we'll get more Mr. Bochicchio because I'd like to see. I think for me, what I'd like to see would be more dates with the guys, one-on-one dates with the guys, because that's when you get to know them better. So hopefully we'll get to see some more of that next episode.
Okay. What are your predictions for next episode? Who do you think is going to get a solo date?
You know what? I think Captain Kim. That is my guess because we got a slight introduction to Captain Kim this episode. So hopefully next episode we'll get like a full-on date to get to know him better. What about you?
It's funny. Every time I keep saying I think it's going to be a Chapman episode. I think she's finally going to pursue a one-on-one date with Mr. Chapman.
Oh wow! I think that's just what you're hoping for. I hope she has a one-on-one date with Mr. Chapman. I would love to see him talk more about his van. Like what's gonna, I just want to know more about him as a person. Who is he as a person?
I do. He's mysterious, and that's the allure of Mr. Chapman.
Yeah.
I mean, the van. He's a model. He's got these piercing eyes. He's got kind of a casual, like confident, like
that's very true. He does actually.
Yeah, he's very confident. He seems like a guy's guy and a ladies' man. So I want to know more, and I keep thinking back to the teaser at the beginning.
At some point he kisses her. Yeah, at some point he does kiss her.
He's in the bedroom with her. I think they spend the night, don't they? Like in the
I don't know
or something. I don't know.
All I want to see more of the making out. Because I think they did tease a Mr. Kim make out. I think they teased a Mr. as you said, a Mr. Chapman make out. I want to see those makeouts. I want to see like let's move along the relationships to see like who she's building that connection with. And I do want to see her spend some more time with Mr. Bochicchio to see if it was real. So
I think Bochicchio's time has passed.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see next episode.
Yeah. I feel like Mr. Chapman as a kisser, I think he might compete with Mr. Holland for the best kiss because he looks like
you're obsessed with this.
He looks like he could get down and dirty. I mean, really like elevate the kiss to the next level. So I'm very curious.
Hopefully we'll get the kiss from him next episode, and then we can rate him right now.
The kiss. Well, we don't have anybody to say goodbye to. Maybe we should just say it to each other.
Okay,
goodbye,
let's say
your carrot awaits. Goodbye, your carrot awaits.
We're having salad. That's the synopsis.
You
Get
are
some
doomed
salad
to
on
go
your way
eat
out the
salad in the other room. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, your carriage
Carriage
awaits.
awaits.